Attention shoppers, clean up on aisle 14. Clean up on aisle 14. Someone dropped a jar of pickles. Kosher pickles.
Beatboxing at a big box store. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
A red minivan has the lights on in the parking lot.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Geico.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, getting you set for what is going to be a huge 3-day football fest for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Wild card games Saturday and Sunday in the NFL, and then, of course, National Championship game Monday in Atlanta, Alabama taking on Georgia, except Central Florida doesn't see it that way, which we understand. I get that. They'll have their parade on Sunday to celebrate their national championship. But we will be there in Atlanta. So by the way, if you want to join us on the show, come on down. We'll have the bus there. We'll be at Gate 2 at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Check out Golic and Wingo, our Twitter page, and pinned there is all the information you need to go to where we are. And as Trey mentioned, our bus will be there with our ugly mugs on it, and the bus that will now be, and let me tell you what, we have some really cool things planned when this bus goes out on tour and we start doing shows out on the road of what we're going to be doing with. It's going to be a lot of fun, but this bus in Atlanta will be the first trip the bus has taken, so we're really looking forward to that and hanging out with everybody.
So that'll be the capper, if you will, on what should be a great 3 days of football, and we'll be looking forward to that. And again, as Mike said, check out the pinned tweet on Golic and Wingo, tell you how to get there. I think the gates open at like 5 a.m. or something like that, so good for you getting there, and we will be there as well. But we got to get to everything else before that, and let's start with what's trending. Well, sadly, there will be no Serena Williams at this year's Australian Open. She won it last year while she was pregnant. She gave birth to her first daughter, Alexis Olympia, in September while the U.S. Open was going on. But she said, while I'm close, I just don't think I'm where I want to be on her fitness level. So Serena Williams will not be at this year's Australian Open.
And listen, every athlete knows their body better than everybody else and knows where they are. Right. And certainly Serena is one of the all-time greats, the greatest ever to play her sport. You know, maybe for some it would be ready to go, but for others, for her, knowing her level of where she wants to be, doesn't want to come back until she can be at that level, which is, of course, dominating and winning events again, and she just doesn't feel like she's there. So, hey, it's a shame we won't be able to see her there, but I mean, what are you going to say? I mean, you know.
How dare you?
Yeah, Serena, you do you. I mean, you're going to know a little better than Trey and I whether you're ready to play some tennis again. So we don't have guys in general can't have a whole lot of say in when women want to come back from pregnancies.
Yeah, it's working. Let's put it this way. However Serena has done it, it's working. The other side, Andy Murray, one of the top seeds for the men, will not be there as well. He's had hip issues since he had to withdraw since he lost in a quarterfinal at Wimbledon last year in tennis. By the way, the Australian Open is one of the funnest events ever. It's a whole celebration, and the Aussies are just the best. It'll be on the ESPN family of networks coming up in just a little bit. So if you're a tennis fan, and there are tons of you out there, make sure you still check out the Australian Open. It is a lot of fun, but we won't have Serena.
Tough for Andy Murray, though, starting out going for a while, and if he ends up having to have surgery, putting him behind the eight ball, obviously.
Well, we saw Isaiah Thomas of the Cavs, right, dealing with that hip issue, and he's tried a lot of things, Andy has, to try and get this right since July.
The last thing you want to do, the last thing anybody, I'm talking about athletes because they're trying to get back to a sport, is get your body cut open.
Right.
So you want to do everything you can before that, but the downside of that is you spend a lot of time trying to do all the rehab without getting operated on, and then it doesn't work, and then you get operated on, you set yourself back even that much further.
And our buddy that worked here for us for a lot of years, Mark Schlereth, who had 29 surgeries in his career, always said, you're never the same after that surgery. There's just a whole nother level of different that you have to get used to, but it's never exactly the same. And we continue. What's trending? Kristaps Porzingis needs a nap. He needs a nap.
This was interesting. After a 121-103 loss in Washington, he had this to say: I'm tired. I'm so tired right now. I have one day to rest my legs and get back and play better and have more energy, and I try and bring the team's energy up. We're in a tough stretch. The mental part doesn't help at all. When it's mentally tough, you don't have it in you. Now, there's one side of you that says, do you like the honesty of that? And then there's the other side that said, man, don't be telling people that.
Yeah.
I mean, don't this is your team now, and this is how you become a great player. You not only have to carry the load physically, but mentally as well. You have to be that guy. You have to be that guy that everybody else looks at and says, you know what? Man, our star is doing his thing. He has got us up going every night. And I'm not sitting there saying that's an easy thing to do. And everybody has off nights, but boy, I don't know. You are pinning your hopes, if you're the Knicks, on this guy. You are building around this guy. Did you want to hear that?
See, that's the thing. I mean, and this is the difference. We talk about it, let's say in football parlance, okay? There's a difference between the number one wide receiver and being the number two wide receiver. Because if you're the number one wide receiver, guess what? They're doubling you on every play.
Right.
Which means as the number two wide receiver, you're not getting doubled as much, which means you're going to have an easier time working on your man and getting open. But when you're the guy, everything goes through you. Yeah. And once they traded away Carmelo Anthony in this offseason, it was all about the unicorn. And it is a different mantle. It is a different burden. It is a different level of responsibility. And he's sort of having to understand that.
Yeah,
now.
He is. Everybody, and he's young. So, you know what? I haven't really heard nationally or even is he getting blasted for this? Is he not getting blasted for this? He's a young player. And all this, you're right, is just thrust on him this year because Carmelo was still there last year. So let's see how he comes through this. I know it's something that probably don't want to say out loud. As I said, some may say, oh, we love the honesty. I'd be like, I might have kept that one to myself. You can talk about that maybe in the locker room a little bit. That's not one I maybe want out there so much, but hopefully it's something that, you know, he's the man. Everybody is looking to him. And it can be tough, you know, to wear that mantle and know I have to be the guy just about every single night.
And the other thing, too, with him, he's tall, but he's slender.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you're 7 foot plus, I know he can hit threes, but he's also going to be banging inside, okay? They're gonna pound on you. They're going to find out just how physically, and he talks about the mental strength, physically and mentally tough you are. That's something that he's going to have to deal with because if the Knicks are going anywhere, it's going to be on the back and the legs of the 7 foot unicorn.
Right.
And the last thing you want him to say is like, I'm getting beaten down.
Yeah.
And we still have over half the NBA regular season to go.
Yeah, we do.
So that'll be the struggle for him going forward, dealing with not only the physical part, but the mental part of it and dealing with people asking him about this now that he's put it out there. I don't know if you're going to survive this next story.
This is awful.
So I'm just going to let you sort of deal with this on your own level and sort of come to grips with it. Mike, the mic is yours.
The world may run out of chocolate in about 40 years.
What? Say that again?
The world could run out of chocolate, the best treat in the world, on track to go extinct in 40 years.
Why?
Because the plant that produces chocolate, these plants are slated to disappear by as early as 2050, thanks to warming temperatures and drier weather conditions. Chocolate could become extinct.
That is a problem.
Chris, my wife, if you're listening, I know you are, buy everything.
Stock up.
Buy it all. If it's chocolate, I want it. I'm a chocolate freak. I love chocolate.
Now, do you have a specific? There's dark chocolate. There's milk chocolate, white chocolate.
Yes, I have a specific one.
Which one?
Chocolate.
All chocolate?
Chocolate.
Anything with chocolate.
I loved when I was growing up when the Easter Bunny would visit.
Yeah.
And you get the solid chocolate bunnies.
Yeah. The Easter,
I didn't care if they were white chocolate. I didn't care. And then when they all of a sudden I got them, I remember biting into one year and it was hollow. I'm like, what the hell is this?
No, this should be solid.
What are we doing?
This should be completely solid.
What are we doing here?
Yeah,
but I really am a chocolate freak, and this hurts me.
Yeah,
this hurts me. Now I probably won't be around.
No, you got 40 years in you.
I'm going to try very hard to be around. I'll be 95 then. I think I can do it.
You know what you're going to be? You're going to be like the major interstate in this country. I-95. It just keeps on rolling.
I'm either going
95 keeps on rolling, and so will you.
I'll either be around breathing every day, or I'll be around sitting in my favorite chair, and my wife will have had me stuffed. And I'll just be sitting there.
Oh, now that's an image I want to think about now.
What do we think about that?
You as an example of taxidermy.
Yeah.
What would be the pose? Let's put this up on Golic and Wingo. What would be the pose in which Golic should be stuffed?
Oh, I know what my kids and my wife would say. In the recliner, the chair I sit in all the time, head back sleeping, because that's normally how I end up, napping.
But if you're going to be stuffed for all time, you don't want to be. You want to look as if you're at some point alert.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to be, there he is asleep, as he would be anyway if he's not with us.
Which is really fitting because he's dead.
Well, yeah, that's my point. So let's put some animation into Golic as a taxidermy object. So let's rule out number one, the picture of which I speak.
The butt photo.
Yeah, we're not doing that. That should not be the taxidermy.
How about
photo.
eating wings?
That would be good.
Yeah,
that would be good. Or holding the pug would be a good one, which is your Twitter profile.
I'd have to have a pug in both hands.
That's fine.
Right.
You're stuffed. We'll put the pug.
Do whatever we want, right?
You won't notice,
right?
Okay? It won't be an issue for you.
Now, will I be nude or not?
No, God, no. Why would you even bring that up?
Well, I just,
Why would we just said we shouldn't do the butt photo?
Well, you said that. I didn't.
No, I'm saying that. Okay?
I may have specific plans in the will to be taxidermied nude.
So now, if that happens, I feel terrible for everyone that will see that photo and see that statue. Mm-hmm. So we'll find out if you have some thoughts on this. And my God, I hope you don't. Put it up on Golic and Wingo.
You know what we need right here?
Yeah.
One of your transition lines. What does Two Guys say?
Rolling on! Yeah. Past Golic as a nude taxidermy artist subject. That cannot happen. It is wild card weekend, and that is the wildest thing anyone can think about as we continue on Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. It starts off with the game that's on ESPN and ABC. Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Tennessee Titans, who will be without DeMarco Murray.
Right.
And then, of course, Kansas City will try and do something they haven't done since Joe Montana was their starting quarterback, win a home playoff game. They have lost their last 5 home playoff games. Joe Montana, the last time to do it, 1993, as a quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. And that gets onto a separate discussion.
Right.
The last quarterback to start a game and win a game as a quarterback that was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, do you know who it is?
No, but I know.
Todd Blackledge. Todd Blackledge. So every quarterback that has won a game as a starter for the Kansas City Chiefs since Todd Blackledge's last win as a starter was not drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, which is, no, I'm sorry, you're right, Patrick Mahomes. I apologize. That has changed. Patrick Mahomes, good job, Stanzik. Patrick Mahomes got that start.
Wow, isn't that something? Mahomes gets to start because they're resting players, and he becomes
first one since Blackledge. So
That's
well
amazing.
done. Stanzik, great save by you, brother. Good job there. But that's how long it had been. So, it's going to be on Alex Smith to try and get this thing going. And our Steve Young said that Alex Smith has to be more of a Bruce Arians type player. No risk it, no biscuit for that playoff home losing streak to end.
Alex Smith, I think, needs to be pressed. Andy Reid needs to call plays. Well, he's not calling plays, but they need to call plays that Alex Smith is forced to be risked. He needs to put himself at risk. He needs to put the ball at risk. Because I think Alex is so careful and so manageable that I think it takes away from his game. And early in the season, I think he put himself at risk. In this playoff run, Alex Smith, be risky. I think it'll play well for the Kansas City Chiefs.
But that's the thing.
Is that where you want to go? Is that why you want to take a guy? I mean, I know early in the season he was doing that. He threw it down the field a little more, but is that what you want to do? That's not normally his game.
No, and it's not Andy's game either, the head coach, Andy Reid.
So are we going to go out of character?
Well, that's the great debate. Now, Marty Schottenheimer was always a very conservative offensive guy, and when they had the number 1 seed a few years ago, I think it was 2005, and the Patriots came to San Diego, he went for it on 4th down and did some more unconventional things that were very un-Marty-like. Marty ball was pound the rock, don't turn it over, let your defense carry you and win championship games. And it felt like he was out of character that year. And after they lost that playoff game, I think that regular season they went 14-2, and they were the number 1 seed. They lost that game to the Patriots, and he was let go after that season when he was 14-2, and they were like, it was out of character. And he's like, look, I was trying to win a playoff game.
Yeah.
But that is the great question. That is the great balance that you have to sort of have in these playoff games. And Teddy talked about it a lot yesterday on NFL Live. It's one thing because everyone says, hey, I'm going to prepare for this game like it's another game.
Right.
Which is the way you should. But then in the middle of the game, the reality becomes, if we don't win this game, there is no next game. Okay. And how does that change your mentality?
I get adjustments during a game.
Yes.
That takes care of itself. If all of a sudden, we know at a point in the game, listen, I certainly did as a player, when you're sitting on the sideline, you're like, okay, game plan's out the window.
Right.
Whether it's on the offensive side or I know defensively, we have such a big lead, I'm just going to have to pass rush, or the other team has a lead, they're just going to run the ball. Then everything just kind of changes. I guess my point is, do you go in with a game plan of, boy, we haven't won a home playoff game, in a while now. We know We were good early in the season, finished up decently at the end of the season. The middle part wasn't so good. Do you go in with the game plan that says, you know what? We should go in. I always think you go into a game with what you do best.
Be who you are.
Be exactly. And not go. Now, if Alex Smith has to throw this team back in or every now and then take your shot, I get it, because you have a guy that can take the top off of defense in Tyreek Hill. You have, arguably the second best tight end in the game, Travis Kelce, behind Gronk when Gronk is healthy to throw to. But I don't know if I sit there and go into it saying I need to take more risks. Be prepared, I think, to take more risks. And maybe I can understand what Steve is saying. If you mix it up early on and go maybe be out of character for a series here or a series there to kind of mix it up a little bit. But overall, you got to say, okay, this is why we're here. This is what we have. Let's find a way to use this to the best of our ability.
Golic and Wingo here with you on a Football Friday, getting set for Wild Card Weekend. You're right, because look, this losing streak goes back to when Dick Vermeil was the head coach. They had the puntless game where they lost to the Indianapolis Colts, I think 41-38. So this is not this group alone that shoulders that burden of losing 5 straight home playoff games. So I don't think, to your point, you can go in and say, hey man, how are we going to not do this? I think the object is going to be, let's do what we do, but if we see opportunities, let's take them.
And along those lines, I'll never forget one year when I was in Philly, we went to play Kansas City in Kansas City. Christian Okoye was a running
nightmare.
back. And was running on everybody, right? We prepared that week to stop this big back. We were going to hit him and hit him and hit him and hit him. 4 touchdown passes later, we were getting smoked in that game. Yeah. They were play action and hitting us deep. We were like, what the hell? Yeah. I mean, they did a really great job of mixing it up. So to Steve's point, I can see that, the expectation is this. So every now and then, let's give them this. I don't know if I'd make a game plan out of it, but certainly be ready to do some of that.
Was that a playoff game or just a regular season game?
I believe it was a regular season game.
Okay, because that was that great backfield when they had Christian Okoye and Barry Word. Remember how big he was?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, those two backs were enormous.
And let me tell you what, up close, Christian Okoye,
his muscles.
What a specimen.
Yeah, his muscles.
And that was always the great thing about a D lineman. It was like you never got a guy like that at top speed.
Yeah.
If he busted through the D line, then it was the linebackers and DBs that had to worry about him at top speed. Yeah. We could always get him before he built up top speed.
By the way, our producer Stanzik just whispered in here, hey, we don't know these people. That's not my problem. Okay, go and look at your history. Go and look at your. Go and look at your.
Christian Okoye is?
I don't shoulder my show around your narrow 7-year view of the world, my friend. Just so
I'd
you're
like
aware.
you to just move on to the next game.
That'd
be great.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, get out of here. History is important.
I won't tell my. So Dan, you tell us your stories of when you played in the NFL to compare it to these playoffs. Oh, that's right. Never mind.
So I produced a game at Arrowhead Stadium where there's a game this weekend.
Yeah, and what happened? There you go. Thanks.
The Colts won.
There you go.
Oh my
41-38
God! Turn
the
off
puntless
your microphone.
Game.
Holy smokes!
How do you not know Christian Okoye? Look it up, kids.
Wow.
History's important.
Well,
but,
the NFL didn't start before the year 2000.
Of course,
Remember
absolutely.
That.
Yeah. When Brady got the starting job, that's
that
when
was
the NFL officially
the
began.
birth of the NFL.
And then you got the Falcons and the Rams, 8:15, the primetime game on Saturday. And this is the classic example of experience, like Barry Word and Christian Okoye had against the youth of the Los Angeles Rams.
I am looking forward to both these defenses because both these defenses, with the way they go about their business of quickness and speed more than just flat up, we're going to stand in front of you and just whoop you. And again, the best D lineman in the game is Aaron Donald. So the pressure that I think they're going to put on Matt Ryan, and as I said before, both Matt Ryan and Jared Goff, they can move in the pocket, but you're not at risk of getting burned by them running, right?
Right.
They want to make a play behind the line of scrimmage, and these are two defensive lines that are faster and can catch these guys. So that, to me, how will that change if you're getting pressure? Now, the one thing, and then look what the Rams have. Gurley out of the backfield for a quick pass. Coleman or Freeman out of the backfield. I mean, it's ridiculous. Or you run shorter routes with the receivers and get the ball in the hand to a playmaker like a Julio Jones. So there is no lack of star power this game. But I'm looking to the defenses here and how quickly they could put pressure. I think both could struggle stopping the run.
Yeah.
I think both these teams could have some success running the ball, but then when they have to get into pass situations, who gets the pressure quicker?
Couple of historical notes to keep in mind in this game. The top scoring offense this season was the LA Rams. Since 2012, this is what the top scoring offenses have done in the postseason. The 2012 Patriots lost in the AFC Championship game. 2013 Broncos lost in the Super Bowl to the Seahawks. 2014 Packers lost in the NFC Championship game. 2015 Panthers lost in the Super Bowl. 2016 Falcons lost in the Super Bowl. So if you're the Rams going by that metric, hey, at least we're going to the conference championship game.
Exactly
we'll see what happens. But if folks in LA don't quite understand what this feels like, we understand. This is the Rams' first playoff game since losing to, of all teams, the Falcons in the 2004 divisional playoffs. But it's the first playoff game played in Los Angeles since January 9th, 1994, when the Los Angeles Raiders hosted the Broncos at the Coliseum. So we'll see how the fans react and see if that high-scoring offense can get the Rams to at least the conference championship, which the last 5 have been able to do. Coming up, hey, apparently you don't have to wait till Monday to find out who the true national championship winner is going to be, because Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn is going to tell you next, right here, Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN2. Enter Sandman coming through us, Mariano Rivera's theme song, right? Are we putting people to sleep? Is that what you're trying to say, Cliff? I don't understand. I feel
Cliff
like
always has a reason, so we're always leaning on him for what his reason is for each song.
I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, there you go.
Right now. Oh, by the way, this just into ESPN via Twitter. Look it up, ladies and gentlemen. Another college quarterback has entered the draft, Lamar Jackson. The Louisville quarterback, former Heisman Trophy winner, has now decided to enter the draft. Again, all players have to decide by January 15th. Lamar Jackson, who had a year of eligibility left, is going to be one of those quarterbacks that will be a very interesting discussion.
Yes, he will. He's, there's the quarterbacks of a Josh Allen, a Josh Rosen, a
Baker Mayfield.
And a Sam Darnold, who have that pocket passer stature, and then there's Baker Mayfield, small aside of that, and Lamar Jackson, the running ability that he has, as well as throwing ability, adds a little X factor into the whole thing.
This draft, from a quarterback perspective, is going to be fantastic. Again, we'll be doing the draft. We'll be there. I'll be doing the draft with my guys all 3 days. It's going to be so much fun, and these quarterback intrigues will be a part of it. We are delighted, though, now to be joined on Golic and Wingo by Auburn's head coach, Gus Malzahn, who may have the most unique perspective of anybody in this debate about who the true national champion is. He beat Alabama. His Auburn team beat Georgia. And then in the Peach Bowl, they fell to UCF. So, Gus, first of all, thanks for being with us. You have a better perspective, perhaps, on anybody in the country about all these teams that think they will or do own the right to be called national champion. Let's start with the matchup Monday between the two teams that you've beaten, Alabama and Georgia. Which one do you think has the edge going into the game?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me this morning. Two excellent teams. We got a chance to play them both up front. I think it's really going to come down to who can run the football the best and who can stop the run.
As far as now you played Georgia twice. Obviously, you beat them in November, 40-17, and then lost in the SEC title game, 28-7. Just going back to that for a moment, in what was that the biggest difference in the running the ball in that game, in that second game?
Yeah, I think they were able to run the football on us the second game. It really was more perimeter oriented, and they did a good job stopping our run. They've made some adjustments, and we didn't adjust as well.
You got to see the freshman quarterback, Jake Fromm. So just give us a little insight into him, as he's a true freshman, going to been starting the entire, went to Notre Dame early in the season and got his first win and his first start, and now is going to lead Georgia into the national championship game Monday, again, as a true freshman. Give us a little bit on him, his poise in the pocket, and what do you think of him?
Yeah, he's very impressive, and I think they've done a very good job of bringing him along. When they're able to run the football effectively, obviously that helps him, but he's protected the football well. He's been extremely accurate, down the field when they got the running game going. He's got some receivers that can make some plays, but I think they've done a super job bringing him along, and he's not playing like a freshman.
No, he certainly is. And Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn, kind enough to join us here on Golic and Wingo this morning. So that's the national championship / SEC championship game Monday in Atlanta between Alabama and Georgia. And then there's the team, Gus, that you played in the Peach Bowl, UCF. They have already declared themselves national championships. They are having a parade this weekend. They are raising a championship banner. Your thoughts on UCF's claim here as being the true national champions?
Yeah, I don't know about all that, but they played extremely well against us. You got to give them a lot of credit. They were very, very motivated. Coach Frost did a super job preparing his team, especially the fact that, he was already on his way to Nebraska. So you got to give those guys a lot of credit. Like I said, they played extremely well against us.
Well, listen, they've gone out of their way, and Danny White, their athletic director, has said, hey, we can beat, we can prove we can play with anybody, having taken down Auburn, and our schedule is as good as anybody. What do you think of their legitimacy to what they're saying is that they are the national champions?
Yeah, of course, like I said, I don't really want to get into all that other than the fact when we played them, they played extremely well. I think you do have to look at the big pictures and the schedules and everything that gets to that point, and the whole body of work. But, hey, give those guys credit. I mean, they're the only undefeated team, and, we got an opportunity to play 3 undefeated teams our last 5 games. So, we played a heck of a schedule.
You certainly did, Gus. Just out of curiosity, with that in mind, because obviously they play in the All-American Conference, if UCF, this team, was in the SEC, how do you think they'd fare?
The tough part is our league is a grind. I mean, every week, it's a physical grind, and you're playing good teams, and even teams that some people think, aren't that good around the country. It's really tough, just the grind that goes week in and week out, and, that's the challenge.
It's one of those teams, again, we're talking to Gus Malzahn, head coach at Auburn, played UCF in the Peach Bowl. Central Florida won that game 34-27. Were you surprised during that game? Because you don't see a team like this, so you're game planning for a team you don't normally see. So whether it was how they played or really what you can control a lot, too, is how your guys played. Were you surprised at your team's performance in this?
Well, I mean, we were disappointed that we didn't play our best. There's no doubt about that. You got to give Central Florida credit, but, we didn't play our best. And, if you look at the whole body of work, we did win 10 games. We really set the foundation for the future. We won the West, and I think we're in a good spot moving forward. But you got to give those guys credit. We knew they were a talented team. I mean, you can turn on the film, and you can see they're extremely explosive on offense. They played extremely hard on defense. And it's in one of those bowl games, you've got to get up every bowl game, and you've got to have your best. And we didn't have our best, but you got to give those guys a lot of credit.
Gus, take us in the mind of that 18 to 22-year-old. Here you are, you knock off Georgia 40-17. Then 2 weeks later, you knock off Alabama 26-14. You're going to go play in the SEC title game against a team you really hammered in November. So take us what your conversations were with your players as far as, were they reading press clippings? Were they overconfident at all? I mean, they are young, men. So that's not out of the possibility. So how were they reacting going into that SEC championship game?
We're really in good shape mentally as far as going into that game. I think the challenge is to beat a very good team twice. And then the fact we played them just 3 weeks earlier, Kerryon Johnson wasn't, 100%. I think that was a factor. We turned the ball over a couple times, but that's the challenge. And, you're so close to being one of those Final Four teams, and the makeup that goes with not, reaching that goal, that's a challenge. But that's just something that, from a coaching staff and a player standpoint, you got to overcome.
Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn with us on Golic and Wingo this morning as we get set for the national championship game between Alabama and Georgia. You talked about it. The key to this game is who can run the ball more effectively. So that really comes down to what I think most football games come down to, Gus, is one wall of men being able to dominate another wall of men. And that's been Georgia's MO with their offensive line to get that running game going. And we certainly saw that as Alabama's MO with that defensive front seven and how they're able just to choke the life out of most offenses that they go up against. So when you see the power running game against Georgia going up against that front seven of Alabama, which has been so ferocious, where do you see the edge in that matchup?
Yeah, I think the key is the running backs for Georgia are so talented. And if they get to the second level, I don't think anybody really can tackle them. You got to get them before they get going. And the first time we played them, we did that. And so I think that's going to be a big key. Alabama is very, very physical, and probably the most physical front that we played all year. So, that'll be a big key, if Georgia can get the running backs to the second level.
Everybody, if you're not in the title game, I'm sure most people like to watch the title game, but this a unique year in the fact that you beat both. I know you lost to Georgia in the SEC title game, but you beat both these teams. Does that make it a little tougher to watch this game on Monday, knowing that you beat them both?
Well, I think it's tough, the fact that we're not playing in it. We were fairly close, to having a chance to be in the Final Four and just didn't get it done. But, we did beat both of them. They're both solid teams and very good teams. So to make it tougher, I don't think it's any tougher.
Well, one other question for me, kind of off. Well, two. First, with the UCF thing and what they're claiming and all that, from putting that aside, but what some people want to see because of it, we want to see a team like this get a chance. Are you for, and not because just of this reason, are you for an expanded playoffs to go to 6 or 8 teams?
Yeah, I'd be all for 8 teams. I'm an old high school coach and kind of like the idea of quarterfinals, semifinals, and give more teams, opportunities. They'd have to kind of restructure some things with the number of games and the bowl games. But I think you see it, every year that there's more focus just on the 4 playoff teams. And then the rest of the bowls, I don't think, are quite what they once was. And so I think we really got to take a hard look at this thing moving forward. And I'd be all for the 8 teams.
Completely in agreement with that. And finally, Kerryon Johnson, your running back. Now, it's different everywhere. We're just talking about guys that are not coming back for their last year in college and going to the pros, Kerryon being one of them. How did it work with you? Do you guys have a discussion? Does he bring you into it? Does he do it all on his own? How did that all come about?
Yeah. We're very close, and his family's very close. And, it was just kind of, we put the facts out there, and Kerryon Johnson did a super job for us here at Auburn. And I think, from the running back standpoint, it's a little bit different because the number of hits and the life expectancy of a running back in the NFL. But, I definitely gave him my blessing. He is a fine young man. He's going to be a great pro. He's so versatile. He can run the ball, he can catch the ball. Probably the best protector in the draft. So, we're rooting for him, and he's going to do a super job.
But that is a key thing you just said that most people do not realize, to be able to pass block and save your quarterback from taking a shot. Do you give I always wonder this, do you give your blessing begrudgingly? Because, listen, let's be honest, you'd love to have him back on your team again. So is it kind of, good luck, but deep down you're like, man, I wish you were coming back.
Our philosophy is kids come to Auburn, I want to help them reach their goals and dreams, and Kerryon wanted to be an NFL player, and I think he's in a very good spot right now. He was an SEC Offensive Player of the Year and just did a super job for us. And so, I give them the facts, very upfront with the families, and then they decide. And if they decide to come back, that's great. And if they feel like it's in their best interest, to move on, we're going to help them any way we can.
Well, we'll certainly look forward to seeing Kerryon at the next level. And you're right, blitz pickup, pass pro.
Smokes.
You can do that as a rookie running back coming in. Your stock will go through the roof. There's no question. Okay, Gus, we really appreciate you getting up with us this morning. Obviously, your perspective, perhaps the most unique of anybody in college football, having played all 3 of these teams that believe they have some sort of claim to the national championship. Gus, we appreciate you being with us this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Gus Malzahn.
Got to be tough. Got to be. Talk about on top of the world.
Yep.
You beat Georgia, and 2 weeks later you beat Alabama.
Iron Bowl, you take down Alabama.
You are like, wow, you are right there. You beat 2 number 1 teams, and you have 1 more game to win, and you're going to be in the tournament. And boy, that had to be a tough one.
Yeah, I was worried about that one because they'd gotten so hyped for 2 weeks or 2 out of 3 weeks. It's hard to keep kids at that level for so long.
And then you don't want to push aside what UCF did, but a lot of people are saying, what kind of attitude did Auburn have playing in the Peach Bowl after being 1 game from playing in the national championship playoffs? You don't want to bring that up too much because you don't want to,
take away from what they did.
You don't. UCF, they went in there and they played.
They handled their business.
And they handled their business. But, I was wondering, I wanted to ask Gus about expanding the playoffs, and I agree with him. I think he eventually will go to 8. It's just a matter of when.
He's on our team. We want to get it to 8, and we'll see if we can get that done sooner or later. Coming up, we'll make our wild card weekend picks, plus talk about Lamar Jackson's pro potential, another quarterback in this draft. It's going to be a quarterback great draft. That's next. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN 2.
Golic and Wingo reminding you to tune into the national championship presented by AT&T. Coverage begins Monday, 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNradio.com, and the ESPN app.
Sounds like Kendrick Lamar bringing us back, reminding you that Kendrick Lamar will be the halftime show
yes, he will.
At the national championship
outside the
game.
stadium.
Will not be
Park.
In the stadium.
Right.
It'll be at Centennial Park, right outside the stadium, and that should be a lot of fun. Golic and Wingo will be there with our bus, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. You can come check us out. We'll be at Gate 2 at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Mm-hmm. You can find out all the information on how to get there on our pinned tweet on our Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo. So that's a big deal in college football, obviously the title game. The other big deal is we have another quarterback, Mike, that is entered the draft. Louisville's Lamar Jackson. So you got Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, throw in Mason Rudolph. This is going to be a fascinating dynamic to see how the evaluation of all these quarterbacks comes, especially when you look at what's going to be going on in the NFL free agency and some of the quarterbacks that may be available.
A lot going on. And with the Josh Rosen, the Allens, and the Sam Darnold, it's more pocket passers. We're going to pick apart their different issues that they have, but they're still, at least Rosen and Darnold, I think, are going to be right at the top. We'll see if Allen falls some. And then you have the X factors in a Baker Mayfield because of his size, his ability to get out of the pocket and create more. And then you have Lamar Jackson, who I think improved this year in throwing from the pocket, but he obviously still runs a ton. Last year, he ran the ball 260 times. This year, he ran it 232 times. The record for rushes in the NFL is by Cam Newton with 139. Did it this year, correct, Riley? This year. So 139, that's the record. So first and foremost, as I said about Lamar Jackson in the next level, and I said this, he throw out the number 260 and 232. He can't do it.
No way.
He's not going to run that much. You can't get away with that in the NFL. And B, he's a slight build as well.
6'3", 210, yeah.
He's going to, and guys in the NFL are going to hit him, they're going to catch him, and they're going to hurt him. It's just the way it is. You can't get away with running as much as he has run. So you have to, again, but we are seeing it more. We're seeing it more where teams that draft these quarterbacks tailor. You can't just have a system and say, I'm going to make this quarterback fit into this system. There has to be some give and take. There has to be, okay, what does this quarterback do? Well, Lamar Jackson, he brings you a few options. Okay, how do I emphasize that on the NFL stage? Well, I know I can't run him 260 times, but how can I get him on the move, let him use his athletic ability while still that strong arm to make things happen? I think not that long ago, we were saying, Lamar Jackson can't play quarterback in the NFL.
I think he can.
And there are some that still don't think he's going to. There are some that think he's going to have to learn be a wide receiver, a la a Braxton Miller, a Terrell Pryor, the two quarterbacks from Ohio State that think that's what Lamar Jackson's going to have to do. I think he's going to get a good shot as to be a quarterback in the NFL because I think it has changed. And I just think over the last few years where they're trying more and more to help these guys and use their abilities more on the NFL field from college instead of just saying, you did that in college, you're not doing that anymore, you're doing this in the NFL.
Absolutely. I think his body of work as a quarterback in the NFL bodes well for him to be a quarterback in the NFL. We got a minute left. Let's plow through these wild card weekend picks. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Start Titans Chiefs on ESPN ABC. Who do we like?
Kansas City. Yeah. I like them. Again, I like the offensive firepower they have and rushing the passer as well. No DeMarco Murray. I go with Kansas City.
I'll go Kansas City as well. The nightcap, Falcons at the Rams in L.A.
Going the Rams. Love their pass rush. I think they're going to put some heat on Matt Ryan. The key for them is stopping the running game, though.
I will go Rams as well. That interior push from the defensive line against a banged-up offensive line for Atlanta. Sunday, Bills-Jags.
No Shady McCoy or a very limited Shady McCoy. Jacksonville's defense is monstrous like them.
I like the Jags a lot in that game. Panthers-Saints.
Wow, this is my toughest one, but I'm going to go with New Orleans. Kamara, what he's doing, and that defense has really turned things around in New Orleans. I'll go with the home team in this one.
I will go with the Saints as well to complete the sweep, which, by the way, means we all picked all 4 home games, which means we have no chance of actually being
Zero
right.
shot.
We will see you Monday in Atlanta from the site of the national championship game.